Before the waters came, a pre-flood, love and judgment. Prologue, the age before. Before the flood, the earth did not yet know sorrow. Mist rose from the ground in gentle breath, watering the soil as if the world itself exhaled life. Rivers moved without hunger. Mountains were young and smooth. The sky did not threaten. It listened. Humanity was still learning how to be human. They named animals with curiosity instead of fear. They built homes without walls meant for defense. Children slept without nightmares, for death had not yet learned how to stalk the night. Above them, unseen, unaging, moved the watchers. They were not gods. They were not demons. They were witnesses, sent from the heavens to observe humanity, to weigh their hearts, and to carry judgment only if judgment became necessary. They were commanded never to interfere, and they were forbidden to love. Chapter 1. The Descent. The descent began at dawn. Light split the horizon, and the firmament opened. Not with thunder, but with silence. The watchers stepped down as thought becomes form, as will becomes flesh. When their feet touched the earth, the ground trembled. Oh, not in fear, but recognition. Oh, they wore bodies shaped in the image of God himself. Tall, luminous, real in symmetry. Their eyes reflected the heavens they came from, and their presence bent the air around them. Humanity saw them, and fear was born. Men dropped their tools. Women clutched children to their chests. Some fell to their knees, convinced the end had come. Semjaza stood at the forefront. He was first among equals, appointed not for strength, but for restraint. His task was clear. Observe without touching. Judge without emotion. But the moment he breathed earthly air, something changed. He felt weight. Gravity pressed upon him. Not just of body, but of choice. For the first time in his existence, eternity felt fragile. Chapter 2. Nama Ilith. Her name was Nama Ilith. A pre-flood name, spoken in song more often than speech. It meant grace of the living clay, for she was born when humanity still understood itself as shaped, not owned. She lived near the valley of quiet stones, where smooth white rock met gentle water. She gathered fruit at dawn and sang to the river as if it were listening. When the watchers descended, she was alone. She saw Semjaza across the field, sunlight cutting across his form like fire through glass. He was terrible. He was beautiful. He was impossible. She did not scream. She did not run. Something in her recognized something in him. He was made in the image of God. And so was she. Their eyes met, and the world shifted. Chapter 3. First Sight. Semjaza had observed humanity for ages beyond counting. He had seen their birth and death, their joys and quiet griefs. He had catalogued their virtues and failures like stars on a map. But he had never felt them until Nama Elith smiled. It was not seduction it was not intention. It was warmth. A warmth that reached a place in him untouched since creation itself. She felt it too. An overwhelming sense that she was not standing before a monster, nor a god, but something holy and lonely. They spoke little at first. Words felt insufficient. He taught her the names of winds, those that carried rain, those that bent trees, those that whispered secrets between continents. She taught him the meaning of touch, how a hand could comfort, how presence could heal, how love could exist without command, and in secret places, under stars that had not yet learned to accuse, love was born. Chapter 4. Fear among men. Not all watched in silence. Whispers spread through the settlements. Some claimed the watchers were gods come to claim dominion. Others said they were devourers of souls. Humanity feared what it could not understand. Their beauty was too perfect. Their stillness too knowing. And yet, some humans noticed something worse. The watchers were watching back. Nama Elith hid her love. Semjaza hid his heart. But heaven is not blind. Chapter 5. The Witness. Another watcher saw them. He stood unmoving among the stones, eyes cold with obedience. He did not confront them. He did not speak. He remembered. Semjaza felt it. The weight of consequence crashing upon him like a wave. Fear came. Not fear of God, but fear of separation, of watching Nama Elith grow old while he remained unchanged, of losing her, not to death, but to obedience. And in that fear, a seed of rebellion took root. Chapter 6. The Oath on the Mountain. Semjaza gathered the watchers upon a high mountain veiled in cloud. His voice trembled, not with pride, but desperation. If I fall alone, I will be destroyed, he said, but if we fall together, we will be remembered. He bound them by oath. They would all take human wives. Shared guilt, shared fate, shared exile. The heavens shuddered. Part 2. The Corruption of the Earth. Chapter 7. The Forbidden Unions. Once the oath was spoken, the world could not return to innocence. The watchers moved differently among humanity now. Not as distant observers, but as present forces. They walked openly through settlements. Their fearsome beauty became familiar, then tempting, then desired. Women were drawn to them, not by lust alone, but by awe. These beings listened without judgment. They spoke with clarity. They seemed to understand the shape of the soul. Marriages were formed in secret. Vows were whispered beneath trees older than memory. Promises were made that neither heaven nor earth had sanctioned. Semjaza took Nama Elith openly now, no longer hiding, yet always watching the sky. She loved him without hesitation. To her, he was not fallen, only choosing. She believed love itself could not be a sin. She was wrong. Chapter 8. Azazel walks among men. While Semjaza loved, Azazel taught. He did not seek affection, he sought influence. Azazel walked among men and showed them what the earth concealed beneath its skin. He revealed how stone could be melted into metal, how fire could be bent to purpose, how tools could become weapons. At first, men were grateful. Blades made hunting easier. Armor made them feel safe. Then safety became dominance. Azazel taught them how to sharpen edges, not only of metal, but of thought. He taught them how to strike first, how to conquer instead of coexist. War entered the world quietly. The first blood spilled was accidental. The next was not. Humanity changed. Chapter 9. The Children of Heaven and Earth. The unions bore fruit. Children were born larger than their mothers should have survived. Their cries shook the air. They grew at unnatural speed, strength blooming faster than wisdom. They were not fully human. They were not fully angel. They were something else. They devoured more than the land could provide. They demanded reverence. They learned violence from their fathers and ambition from their mother's fear. The earth groaned beneath their footsteps. The watchers saw what they had created, and dread replaced desire. Chapter 10. Nama Elith's Burden. Nama Elith felt the change before anyone else. Her pregnancy was not gentle. The child within her moved like a storm contained by fragile walls. Dreams plagued her. Visions of blood-soaked fields and cities crumbling under towering shadows. Semjaza stayed beside her, though fear hollowed his eyes. He knew he had loved her in defiance of heaven. And now, heaven demanded a price. Nama Elith did not curse him. She placed his hand upon her swollen belly and whispered, "If this is the cost of loving you, I will pay it." That devotion shattered him. Chapter 11. The First Birth. The night the child was born, the earth cracked. Stones split. Animals fled. The sky darkened without cloud. When the child emerged, silence fell. Not the silence of peace, but of shock. He was enormous. Limbs too long. Eyes too old. His first breath sounded like a roar pulled from the depths of the world. The first giant had entered creation. Nama Elith wept, not in horror, but grief. Semjaza fell to his knees. Love had produced an abomination. Chapter 12. Heaven responds. Heaven had watched long enough. The cries of the earth reached beyond the firmament. Violence multiplied. Innocence vanished. What had been permitted as observation had become contamination. God did not rage. He decided. The watchers would be bound. Their offspring would not inherit the earth. Humanity would not be allowed to destroy itself entirely. Creation would begin again. Chapter 13. The Silent Preparation. Far beyond the stars, an ancient body of ice and water shifted its course, not summoned in anger, but guided in purpose. A traveller from the dark, frozen seas locked in stone. When it struck, the sky would break. The fountains of the deep would answer. Rain, unknown to humanity, would fall. The world would be washed clean. Chapter 14. The Giants Roam. The giants spread across the land. They devoured livestock. They crushed villages. They turned weapons into toys. Humanity cried out. Not to the watchers, but to heaven. The watchers could no longer intervene. They had forfeited that right. Part 3. The End of the Age Before Rain. Chapter 15. The Voice Above the Firmament. The heavens spoke, not in thunder, but in certainty. It was not a sound that struck the ear. It entered the soul first, then spread through the bones of creation. Mountains felt it. Oceans leaned closer to listen. The judgment was not fueled by wrath. It was shaped by sorrow. The watchers had not merely broken a command. They had broken order. Love, once pure, had become a doorway through which corruption poured unchecked. The earth itself cried out for release, and heaven answered. Chapter 16. The Binding. Light descended, not gentle as dawn, but sharp as law. Messengers of heaven came, not to negotiate, not to warn, but to bind. The watchers were seized where they stood, on mountains, in valleys, beside the wives they could not protect. Their strength vanished as easily as breath in cold air. Semjaza did not resist. When chains of judgment wrapped around him, he looked only at Nama Ilith. "I am sorry," he whispered, not for loving her, but for what that love had unleashed. The watchers were cast into darkness beneath the earth. Places carved before time had names. There they would wait, neither dead nor free, until the final reckoning. Chapter 17. Azazel's Punishment. Azazel's judgment was different. He was not bound beneath the earth, but cast into the wilderness, a place of desolation and echoing silence. There, jagged stone and burning wind would be his companions. Upon him fell the weight of humanity's bloodshed. Weapons dulled in his hands. Knowledge turned to ash. He was buried beneath rubble and shadow, forbidden to corrupt again until the appointed end. War would remain, but its teacher was removed. Too late to undo the damage. Chapter 18. Nama-Elith's Last Days. Nama-Elith survived the binding, but not the grief. Her child grew faster than thought, towering over her like a living omen. Wherever he walked, fear followed. Wherever he fed, the land withered. She loved him, and that love broke her. At night, she sang to him the same songs she once sang to the river. But the river no longer answered. She looked to the sky often, hoping, fearing, knowing. The world she had known was ending. Chapter 19. The earth prepares. Strange signs appeared. Animals gathered without reason. The ground groaned beneath invisible pressure. The air grew heavy, as though holding breath. Clouds formed. Something humanity had never seen. They did not know the word rain. Far beyond sight, the ice-water comet drew closer, trailing silence and destiny. Frozen oceans waited within it, enough to cleanse a world. The reset had begun. Chapter 20. Noah. Among humanity lived a man who still listened. His name was Noah. He walked with care, spoke with restraint, and felt sorrow for a world that no longer recognized itself. While giants roamed and violence ruled, Noah built. Not weapons, but obedience. When others mocked him, he continued. When the sky changed, he watched. Chapter 21. The Day Star. It was midday when Noah saw it. A bright object burned against the blue sky, where no star should be. It did not flicker. It did not wander. It approached. Noah shaded his eyes, heart heavy with understanding. Behind him, wood creaked beneath careful hands. Ahead of him, the heavens prepared to open. The age before rain was ending. Epilogue. The last memory. Some say love doomed the world. Others say disobedience did. But the truth lies somewhere quieter. Love, unrestrained by wisdom, became destruction. Knowledge, untempered by humility, became war. Beauty, unguarded by obedience, became terror. And yet, love was real. It mattered. It is remembered. The waters would come. The world would be washed clean, but echoes remain. Of a time when angels walked, humans loved, and the sky itself learn how to weep. The end of the age. Before the waters came,